and welcome to the latest edition of Business Insights, brought to you by Business South. My name's Kate Pearce, and I've been asked by the Business South to interview some of the leading names in business from the Central South region for this series. We're going to be finding out how these business leaders have navigated their way through the pandemic, the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and looking ahead to what the future holds. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Louisa Finlay. She's the MD at Kier Construction Southern. She joined Kier in 1988 during her degree course and took on her current role in March 2020. So Louisa, what did it feel like becoming MD in the midst of a global pandemic?
Oh my gosh. Well, the business had already been through quite exciting change in the months leading up to being given the MD role. And that, along with, I was commuting into London a lot, so I really did see the pandemic, we saw it coming. So from my point of view, we were, I wouldn't say prepared, but as an agile business, we were ready for challenges. But actually taking on the role of MD during the pandemic was probably more challenging than taking on the role of MD out of a pandemic. I found it really exciting. I've got some fantastic people who I work with who were supportive from day one. And my main focus was on our people because all our projects stayed working. We kept all our sites live. We were still delivering hospitals and schools and so many important infrastructure projects. So the reality is I was exceptionally busy, I was exceptionally motivated, and I was very well supported. And my main aim was to support our frontline people delivering fantastic projects.
And what were the sort of toughest challenges during the year? Did you get to go out on site and sort of see, what was happening, in the thick of it there?
So I took over as MD on March the 11th, and literally within 2 weeks, we went into lockdown. I had managed to get out and meet some of the senior leadership team before we were in lockdown. And I'd also managed to visit one of our projects, a school project. But when we went into lockdown, we were very aware that we didn't want to make any unnecessary visits to projects. And we worked very, very closely in setting the safe standards. So we stopped visiting sites for a period of time and instead increased our communication. So I was doing weekly communication calls with all our people, be they frontline and on site, or be they at home, because everybody was feeling really, really uncertain. I mean, it was quite scary. None of us had been through this before. So the most important thing was to allow people that communication loop, the clear communication, and a place to ask questions. And when we didn't know the answers, we were very honest, but working with the Construction Leadership Council and all of the contacts within the bigger Kier meant, I think we were always on our front foot and we could ensure the safety of our people and the well-being, because it was a really challenging time.
And not least of all, I would have thought the sort of safety restrictions that were brought in for working on site, weren't they? The sort of, the 2 meter spacing and that sort of thing. I mean, in reality, that's quite a difficult thing to do on a construction site, I would imagine.
It is, and it required some really strong behavioural change. So we've got a really strong leadership team. And as I've said, Kier work with the bigger construction industry. And we're heavily informed in developing what we call the SOP, the Standard Operating Procedures, both for our sites and for our offices. And then it was about really explaining to our frontline staff how they could work with it. And we've also got a really strong SHE team and also operational leadership team who were visiting to ensure the teams could make those decisions. And then again, with our supply chain, we worked with our supply chain. So we could, we had to redevelop what we call our RAMs and our method statements. And then, the teams were empowered to stop if they didn't know how to solve a problem. And then we'd immediately get round them to make sure they were safe. And I've just been completely inspired by the way our frontline people have responded to that challenge, and as have our supply chain, because, you know, working out how to offload something 2 meters apart, we've had to solve those problems. But I suppose one of the real advantages, construction is a problem-solving industry, and as an engineer, that's what we do. We get given a challenge and we work out how to span a big bridge. You know, we work it out all the time. So it was playing to our strengths. So yeah, it was pretty exciting at times, but also, you know, being honest, quite scary at sometimes, because you were outside your comfort zone.
And I guess as well, you were saying that, I mean, the projects that you're delivering are large projects, aren't they? You know, like hospitals and schools, and did all of those go ahead? Nothing was sort of held back during the pandemic?
So we literally, we have projects that are less than £1 million. So we do small refurbishments in hospitals and schools, and then we're doing some really large projects over 60 millions to do, you know, for the national health. And at the time, we did a short pause to make sure that we had safe operating procedures, and we made sure that we didn't take on any risks that we couldn't manage. So literally, so we also had a project in a hospital where we worked in different areas to suit their COVID pressures. We had a number of those and worked really closely with the National Health Trusts, so we could adapt to work with their demands. But we handed over, a number of 4-bed wards. We handed over a number of specialist facilities during the first lockdown. And that was just down to being collaborative with our clients.
Are you sort of looking ahead a little bit now, thinking that there will be sort of long-term repercussions from the pandemic? Do you see that it will change the way that you work in the future?
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I think there should be some positive change. I think we've learned it is possible to work in an agile manner. So I'm presently still working from home a couple of days a week, and then going out and collaborating when I need to go out and collaborate. And I think we've learned, that can really help with work-life balance. And we've also, whether you get Teams fatigue or Zoom fatigue, there are meetings where it is much, much better not to drive. And particularly, I'm one of our leaders on sustainability. And with the carbon agenda, if we can avoid having to travel somewhere and use remote communication tools when they're appropriate, I think that's greatly beneficial. I think the one other thing is we've really concentrated on the well-being agenda. I'm in the middle of doing a mental health training course, which has really opened my mind to, we need time to restore, and we need to change the ways we communicate and talk with each other. Because, in the pandemic, I was lucky, my son's, well, not so lucky, was sitting A-levels at the time, or not sitting A-levels. But a lot of my colleagues had 2 young children at home and they were homeschooling. So we adapted the hours we work, and that doesn't have to stop either. We can take the good from the pandemic and use it moving forward. And I do think we built some really strong supply chain relationships. I mean, not in my area, but other parts of Kier were involved in the 3 surge hospitals, and the relationships that were built from then, the strong relationships with supply chain, we will carry on building now, because we know what we can do when we properly collaborate. We know what we can achieve.
And do you foresee where you're sort of looking at those, the recovery isn't just for the economy, it is for people as well, isn't it, to recover how they go forward from here. And so I guess you are, really having to sort of plan a little bit with that, aren't you? Because suddenly people who've been locked down for quite some time, expected to go out, and I mean, that in itself is going to be something that needs to be managed, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And we have been managing it throughout, because, as and when we've been allowed, we've had people attending only when essential, offices. But but obviously we've had people working full time throughout the Botanic on our projects. So yeah, it is about communication. It is about really open and honest communication. And we've had some people quite worried about returning to work. And it's we've done videos of our offices to show how we can maintain social distancing, how we've adapted to ensure we've got the right amount of fresh air, how our meeting rooms now have, restricted people in them. We have such thorough cleaning facilities. So it's spending the time to give people the certainty and to allow them to feel safe. And that's really worth investing in.
And I know recently we've had a lot of talk about finding people to come back into the hospitality industry. And I'm wondering whether there's also been a lot of talk about the skill shortage in the construction sector as well. And I'm just wondering what you think can be done to sort of nurture and support and celebrate this. I mean, it's a crucial sector for the economy, isn't it? But can more be done now, and should it be done?
Absolutely, and we really want to be leading the way, with local employment in the southern area. I mean, at the minute, I've got apprentices, I've got graduate apprentices, and I've got people on Kier degree programs. We also have an outreach program where we go into schools because, I joined the industry. When I joined, there were no girls. I can promise you that it was unheard of. And I walked out on a site and people were betting how long I'd last, and I'm still here. And can I honestly say it's a fantastic industry? I mean, it is, I have never been bored, ever. I haven't had a day bored. And there's so many different opportunities. So to me, it's about making sure people understand the diverse work opportunities within construction. It is from architecture to engineering. It is from bricklaying to carpentry. It's digital now. It's all about modern methods of construction. And we want to be leading the way. We want to encourage people to come and, understand the opportunities in the industry. So during the pandemic, we've done virtual work experience, and we're going to carry on doing that because it's meant we've been able to bring work experience to more people. But we will also do face-to-face work experience and allow them to see the collaborative environment that construction industry offers. And there's loads and loads of other ways. We're working with Kickstart, we're working with Making Ground. So whether it's getting ex-offenders into the industry, whether it's getting people back from maternity leave, and a bit of a passion to myself is the diversity and inclusion, because I have loved this job. And yeah, there's been one or two challenges as a female, but the reality, this is an industry for everybody. And if you're forward thinking, if you like problem solving, if you like being challenged, there's something for everybody. So yes, and we want to be leading the way, and we want to be leading the way in Southern and the bigger, in the Kier group, to make sure people understand the opportunities and are given the chance to apply for them.
And I guess if, as you're talking about, retaining some of the good stuff that's come out during the pandemic, so making the working week work for you a little bit more, that can help women, to come into the industry, can't it?
Absolutely, it can. And we've got, again, I've got people working on 3-day week, 4-day weeks, different hours, and that's women, that's men. Again, I think we've learned both people might be needing to be doing childcare. Both people might be needing to look after an elder, or somebody, or have different demands on their life. And it's about just, some roles it's a little bit more challenging, but there's a lot of roles that can be done with a different working pattern. And, I think we've already proved it within Southern that we're absolutely up for it. We're willing to see how we can make, proper agile working deliver, so we have the best people, fulfilling their potential, because that's really what it's about. Yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk about, not going back to normal, but going back to better. What would you pinpoint as the better things that you hope to go back to?
Oh my gosh, I would like there to be less traffic on the road. I think one of the key betters is on sustainability and I'm a bit of a joke, a tree hugger. I really so believe in our sustainability agenda and driving the net zero agenda and reducing carbon. So if it can be that people don't always have to travel to a meeting and are able to be selective while still collaborating, because I think for both really good innovation, which is really important in our industry, you need collaboration. And also sometimes for your mental well-being, we are a sociable industry, so you must be able to get together and collaborate, but it's being selective and ensuring we do it, knowingly, carefully, and putting thought into it. So it would be ensuring we are agile and we're intelligent with the way we work.
And looking forward finally to 2020, at the end of 2021 and into 2022, from a business perspective and personally, are there other things that you're looking forward to? I understand that you're very keen on cricket, so are you hoping to see a real match?
That'd be fun. Wouldn't it be lovely to have a day watching cricket? Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, on a business level, I'm actually really excited because we've got a really good business plan. I want people to want to work with us in the south of England and really to be part of what you're driving. It's a fantastic part of the world. And one of the things from the pandemic, if people don't have to travel as much, they can choose to live and work in the south of England and not have to go into London every day. They can work locally with us, with local people. I would like a sense of normality on a personal level because my son did his A-levels in lockdown. He's part gone to university, part not gone to university. And I think probably for the youth, for our future, I'd like them to be able to get their lives back to normal. But no, I'm very, very excited. I've got a really strong leadership team in our business. I'm working with them to deliver our business plan, to benefit the south of England, to deliver schools, to deliver hospital projects and commercially and everything. And employing local people so that they can be part of that growth. And that I'm really, really excited about it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Louisa. It's been really interesting and and a positive note to end on there.
Thank you.
Thank you.